Okay, guys, so we're going to continue with this last lesson here on common factoring for Unit 5. So this will be your last lesson for Unit 5. So we just talked about it in our last lesson here that the review of multiplication of a monomial and a polynomial, so meaning that we're multiplying outside the bracket inside into the terms of inside the bracket. Okay, so if we look at these examples, they're just getting slightly more difficult. That's the only difference between this and the last lesson. So again, if we look at 3x squared times x and times positive 2. So 3x squared times x would just be adding another x, so it'd be 3x to the 3. And then if you multiplied 3x squared by 2, you'd get 6x squared. For our next one here, we're multiplying that whole term throughout the whole bracket. So 5y cubed, you'd multiply it by 2 first, which would be 5 times 2 is 10, and then y to the 3 just stays like that. And then for the next one, we have negative 3 times 5, so negative 15. And then we have another y, so it'd be y to the 3 times y. We just add those exponents, becoming y to the 4. So again, we're going to continue to common factor, okay? So again, we're taking the largest number that we can divide into every term, and we're going to also take the variable with the exponent, okay? So you're going to see a little bit more of that here, okay? So we'll break it down as smooth as we can here, but basically, if we want to look at this example here, 3x cubed plus 6x squared. So we know, once again, seeing 3 and 6, that the highest number that would divide into both of those would be 3. And then we need to start thinking about the terms. So x cubed and x squared, well, x cubed can't go into x squared, but x squared can go into x cubed. So it would be x squared. So our greatest common factor would be 3x squared. So if we want to set that up, 3x squared, and then we can start worrying about our brackets. So if we take our first term, 3x cubed, and we divide it by 3x squared, well, 3 divided by 3 would get 1. And then x to the 3 divided by x to the 2, well, we just do subtraction. So it would be x, okay? And then in this case, the next one, we have 6x squared divided by 3x squared. Well, 6 divided by 3 would be positive 2. And then x squared divided by x squared, well, those just cancel out. So the common factored form of 3x cubed plus 6x squared is 3x squared bracket x plus 2. Okay. Give you a second to write that down. Okay, for the next one, if we first look at these numbers, 10 can be divided by 5 and 2, or 10 and 1, 15, 15 and 1, or 5 and 3. Well, they share 5, so they can both be divided by 5. So if we look at our greatest common factor, 5 is going to be part of it. And then we're going to look at our y's. So y cubed and y to the 4. Well, y to the 4 can't go into y to the y cubed, but y cubed can go into y to the 4. So it'd be 5y to the 4, or sorry, to the 3, I apologize, would be our greatest common factor. So once again, if we wrote that and we had our bracket ready to go on the bottom, we'd do our first term, so 10y cubed divided by 5y cubed. So in this case, if we looked at that, we would have 10 divided by 5 is 2. And then y cubed divided by y cubed just cancel out. For our next one, we'd have negative 15 y to the 4 divided by 5y to the 3. Well, negative 15 divided by 5 is negative 3. And y to the 4 divided by y to the 3, well, 4 minus 3 would be 1, so it would just be y. So our factored form, our common factored form of 10y to the 3 minus 15y to the 4 would be 5y cubed, bracket 2 minus 3y. Okay. All right. Continuing on, we've got 2 questions left in the unit, and then I'll let you guys work away at this stuff here. So once again, we're trying to find our greatest common factor. Now, if we look at things that we can multiply into 8, so 8 and 1, 4 and 2, that'd kind of be it. 12, we've got a bunch of them, 12 and 1, 6 and 2, 4 and 3. Well, if we look at these lists of number, the highest one they share would be 4. So 4 would be there. And then if we look at the a's again, so we've got a to the 6 and a to the 5. Well, we know that a to the 6 cannot go into a to the 5, but a to the 5 can go into a to the 6. So our greatest common factor would be 4a to the 5. So 4a to the 5, we'd set up that bracket, and then we could just work away at each term. So it would be 8 divided 8a6, sorry, divided by 4a to the 5. Now 8 divided by 4 is 2. And a to the 6 divided by a to the 5, we just do that subtraction of the exponents, a to the 1 or a. And then in the next one here, we have negative 12a to the 5 divided by 4a to the 5. And in this case, negative 12 divided by 4 is negative 3. And a to the 5 divided by a to the 5, well, it's divided by itself, so it's 1. And then therefore, we are left with the common factored form of 8a to the 6 minus 12a to the 5 would be 4a to the 5 bracket 2a minus 3. Okay. Now, the last one's probably about as hard of an example as you're going to come by because we have 3 terms. So we got to start thinking, what do all 3 of these terms share? So we know we got to think a little bigger here. We could go 20 times 1, 10 times 2, 5 times 4. Well, let's think here. 50 times 1, 25 times 2, 10 times 5. So these share 5 and 10 already, so we can stop there. And then 10 over here, 10 times 1. So we've got 10 being our greatest common factor, number-wise, is 10. And then we got some W, so W3, W2, W. So again, what can go into each of those? And that would be W. So 10W would be our greatest common factor. So 10W. All right. And then we just do exactly what we do each term. We're going to set up. So 20W3 divided by 10W2, or sorry, W. I apologize. So in the bracket, 20 divided by 10 is 2. W to the 3 divided by W itself. So 3 minus 1 would be W squared. Then we look to our next term, negative 50w squared divided by 10w. Well, negative 50w squared, so negative 50 divided by 10 would be negative 5. And w squared divided by w, so remember that 1, 2 minus 1, 5w. And then last but not least, we've got 10w divided by 10w. And we know anything divided by itself is just 1, and in this case it's positive. So our greatest common factor form of 20w to the 3 minus 50w to the 2 plus 10w would be factored into 10w bracket 2w squared minus 5w plus 1. Okay, I know that right there was a lot, guys, but hopefully that worked out. And I'll